All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth, and double salutations to all you Akim out there laboring, the house of David, the elect, that's pushing his word with all truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Shalom to you, brothers, and shalom to the elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit, the Rakakwadash. And prophecy is moving as usual, and we're watching this interaction closely between the U.S. and Iran, which the Lord is going to use as a catalyst to bring in the war of Armageddon, all right, World War III, nuclear war. It's the book of Revelation 11 and 14, and it reads, it says, the second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly.
On Saturday, President Trump is set to reopen direct talks with Iran. Listen to what White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said about that.
When it comes to Iran, the president has reimposed crippling sanctions on the Iranian regime, and he's made it very clear to Iran they have a choice to make. You can strike a deal with the president, you can negotiate, or there will be hell to pay. And as the president said yesterday, if they don't choose to move forward with diplomacy and a deal, which is the direction we do see them headed in, there will be grave consequences.
Grave consequences. Okay. Retired four-star General Jack Keane joining me again here in New York City. Are we on the brink of an attack on Iran? I raised the question because we reported yesterday there are 6 B-2 bombers that have been assembled in Diego Garcia. They carry the bunker-busting bombs that you and I have talked about a lot. Are we getting ready for an attack?
Yeah, I mean, we're absolutely making preparations. I think what the president is very sincere here in trying to get the Iranians to voluntarily dismantle the program. So he's issued them an ultimatum. And what does that really mean? It means the Iranians would have to give up all of their nuclear materials. They'd have to dismantle their facilities that they have, and some of them are 250 feet in the ground with 3 feet walls. And they're also their ballistic missiles as the delivery system. But here's the big catch. We want anywhere, anytime inspections. The Iranians, in their entire history, have never granted that. They let you go to a certain sites, and meanwhile, they have secret sites where they continue their program. It's likely they're not going to put that on the table. We're going to have to insist on it. And then the last thing is by a date certain. So the alternative then, if they don't comply with this, is a strike. So yes, preparations are being made for that. It would likely be an Israeli-led, U.S.-supported strike. The Israelis have great skepticism about the Iranians voluntarily dismantling the program. So does President Trump, but he wants to give it a try. And I think on Saturday we'll start to get a sense of, are they really serious about this? Or are they kind of behaving like Putin is behaving, you know, who's delaying, wants more concessions. The Iranians do want relief from sanctions.
And we've got leverage.
We have
more leverage than we've ever had before.
More leverage in 44 years. Iran is back on their heels. We have an opportunity to finish these guys once and for all for their malign and aggressive behavior and destabilizing the Middle East. That's how far back on their heels they are. We have the leverage.
It's fascinating. All right, next one for you, General. The Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, he sounded the alarm on China's growing military. He called the build-up of their armed forces staggering. Do you think that we in America are a little naive about China's military power?
Well, I think the previous administration tried to pretend that we still had deterrence. I mean, I totally agree with the Secretary General. I was on a commission for 22 months that looked at this. Our conclusion simply when we published our report last year that China, Russia, Iran, North Korea represent the most serious and dangerous threat to the United States since World War II.
And that's because Russia and China have become an unstoppable force, all right? They liken the alliance between Russia and China as a great mountain. I remember hearing that on the news. This is Joel. Let's get that in Joel, the 3rd chapter, real quick. All right, Joel chapter 3 and verse 9, it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. And this is the Spirit of the Lord, okay, that's activating these nations, all right, prepping them for this final war. Verse 10, Joel 3 and 10, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. let the weak say I am strong, right? So as we see, okay, China, Iran, Russia, none of these nations are backing down to America's forces. All right, there is not going to be any negotiations. There's not going to be any deals. All right, at the end of the day, it's the Lord that's orchestrating everything. Okay, the Yahweh Shem Yahushai wants this war to happen. Assemble yourselves and come, all you heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And what's happening is that we see, the nations gathering themselves in that Middle East region. It says, let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. And that's exactly what the Lord is going to do as we see it.
And obviously the major competitor is China. They outpace us, Stuart, in just about every platform there is except submarines. That's the that's the reality.
Rocketry and missiles.
Yeah, you name it, they outpace us, and we're not even close to being able to catch up.
When you say outpace us, I mean,
they
are
have
their
more
weapons
of them.
better, or there are more of them?
They have more of them, and they've caught us in quality in just about most of all of it. It is a staggering military buildup. But here's what we have to do, and we can do this. Strengthen Taiwan so that they impose costs themselves, and build up the United States military capability with our allies and partners in the region, and use some imagination. The Ukraine war has showed us that Ukraine defeated the Russian Navy in the Black Sea, and they don't have a Navy. How did they do it? They did it with drones and missiles and imagination. Warfare has changed. These big ships are very vulnerable to missiles. Autonomous vehicles above the sea, autonomous vehicles below the sea, not a few hundred of them, thousands of them can make a difference, and we can do that quickly.
But are we behind in that area?
Yes.
At this moment, we are behind.
Oh, yeah,
autonomous
absolutely.
vehicles above and underneath the sea.
Yes, we're absolutely behind.
Yeah, see, America's outmatched. Right? This is how the Lord set this thing up. Babylon is about to lose, man. Okay? Everything is being set up for this place to fall. Okay?
Behind what our capability is.
How long does it take to catch up?
We can do this in a couple of years with those kind of vehicles. About 4 or 5 years for the total program.
Do you think we've got time? Do you think we've got a couple of years?
Well, here's what President Xi has. We have to go along with what he says. He told his forces to be ready to take Taiwan by force in 27. So that doesn't mean he's going to pull the trigger. What Xi really wants, he wants to dominate us so much militarily that Taiwan knows that the United States likely can't win this war. So they would capitulate, and then would the United States come to their assistance? Well, if you're going to recognize that this is going to be a catastrophic event, tank the world economy, and the United States may not win, in the long run, does the President of the United States make a decision to support, or does he throw the towel in? That's where President Xi's head is. He wants us to throw the towel in because he dominates us so militarily. We don't have to go platform to platform with him, Stuart. What we do have to have is a capability like we had with the Soviet Union. They outnumbered us in everything also. But we had enough to impose cost and for those military leaders to look at and say, this is in doubt whether we could win or not. So they never came. That's what we have to achieve, and we can achieve that.
Got to spend a lot of money to do it, don't we?
Yes, this place is over with, man. All right, let me get another scripture real quick. Okay, this is Joel. Joel chapter 2 and verse 20. It says, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, going back to the 5 branches of the American military. All right, which all of these branches of the military are being activated for war. It says, but I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren, all right, going into Saudi Arabia, okay? And this is why all this escalation is taking place in that part of the world, in that region of the world. It says, and I will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, all right, going into the Euphrates, the Persian Gulf, the region of Iran. And it says in his hinder part toward the utmost sea, going back to the to the Red Sea, which is also a lot of conflict that's going on in that region as well. Okay, there's a lot of ships that are being cut off that deal with international trade. All right, there's a lot of proxy wars that are going on in that region as we speak. It says, "And his stink shall come up, and his ill savior shall come up, because he have done great things." So pretty much this is going into those dead bodies as a result of this war that's getting ready to go down. All right, Isaiah 34 and verse 1, it says, come near, you nations, to hear, and hearken, you people, let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, is upon all nations, and upon and his fury upon all their armies. See that? So all these nations' armies are going to be destroyed in this time. He have utterly destroyed them. He have delivered them to the slaughter. And how the Lord is going to do this in World War III. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. And the Lord is going to do this through the nuclear missiles. All right, we know that mountains represent major governments, and the Lord is going to melt these mountains with those missiles. It says the mountains shall be melted with their blood, and the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as a leaf falleth, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a fallen fig from the fig tree. All right, those warheads hitting the earth. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven, behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. And we're in the time of the judgment of Esau, Edom, America, Babylon. The sword of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, and with the fat of kidneys of rams. For the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, have a sacrifice in Bosra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. All right, so we're actually living out to see this prophecy come to pass. We're in the beginning stages of this destruction happening. All right, like I said, the catalyst. All right, the Lord is moving this thing. Right?
Iran wants to deal with us, but they don't know how. They really don't know how. We had a meeting with them on Saturday. We have another meeting scheduled next Saturday. I said, that's a long time. That's a long time. So I think they might be tapping us along. But Iran has to get rid of the concept of a nuclear weapon. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. He can't have a nuclear weapon. Nobody can have. We can't have anybody having nuclear weapons, We can't have nuclear weapons. And I think they're tapping us along because we're so used to dealing with stupid people in this country.
But see, this is the thing. These nations are seeing through America. All right? You're talking about how these nations can't possess nuclear weapons, but America has nuclear weapons. Israel has nuclear weapons. You see? So these nations they're waking up to Babylon's bullshit. All right? There's no stopping this thing. Everybody has nuclear weapons for the purpose of World War III.
And I had Iran perfect. You had no attacks. You would have never had October 7 in Israel, the attack by Hamas, because Iran was broke. It was stone cold broke when I was president.
President Trump with reporters yesterday in the Oval Office about Iran's nuclear ambitions. U.S. negotiators meeting with Iranian officials over the weekend on Saturday in Oman, with more talks scheduled in Italy this upcoming Saturday. Joining me now is Fox News senior strategic analyst and chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, General Jack Keane. General, always a pleasure. Thank you for being here. Can you assess what you heard from the Oman meeting and what you would expect from this upcoming Italy meeting on Saturday?
Yeah, well, I think my expectation.
I want to buy your house.
So, let's let this pass real quick.
Expectations are pretty low. Iran is summarily rejecting any thought of dismantling the program themselves. I mean, what they want to do is move back to what they would define as commercial civilian nuclear power enrichment program, which is low-grade enriched uranium. Back when we had the nuclear deal with the Obama administration is what they're really talking about. And Maria, that's a distinction now without a difference. In other words, civilian nuclear power and nuclear weapons, because Iran has technology that has advanced, as well as their engineers. They have developed advanced centrifuges. They can make enriched uranium very rapidly. They're right now capable of producing 6 nuclear weapons within a number of weeks, because they've already developed the enriched uranium to the levels needed for that weaponization. So we have to understand who Iran is today. And that's why that makes no sense to try to form that difference, because it isn't a difference. And listen, President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu have all the cards here. Iran is relatively defenseless against an attack. They know it. They haven't retaliated against Israel since the October attack, which was devastating on them. They removed their defenses and much of their rockets and missiles. We've got maximum sanctions hanging over their head here. Their economy is in the tank. If they don't want to dismantle their program and get sanction relief and be welcomed in as a...
Salakia. Let's see if this acts right. Salakia is just kind of dragging a little bit.
A legitimate country, if they're going to stop their malign behavior in the region, then we execute the ultimatum that President Trump has laid down in front of them. And that would be an Israeli-led, U.S.-supported attack. It's something the president doesn't want to do, but Iran looks like they're going to likely force his hand. That's kind of...
Hey, that's the Lord. Hey, the least of the flock should draw them out, man. An American and Israeli attack on Iran. All right, that's the prophecy, which is going to bring this thing in. This is the game changer. This is what we're watching here. Right now, I was thinking about this earlier because I had seen this floating around on social media. Real quick, just to add this in there as well. It says a conspiracy theory that is being pushed by the left claims that something really big is going to happen on April 20th. All right, so they're talking about bringing in martial law, Trump implementing the Insurrection Act against the border crisis that's going on. And I personally believe in the spirit that, you know, this is just a big distraction from what's really going on between America and Iran and Israel. That's just my opinion. All right. And these are the rumors of war. All right. Jeremiah 51. Jeremiah 51 and 45, my people go you out in the midst of her and deliver ye every man his soul from the fierce anger of the Lord. Yahweh Shemel Shai. It says, unless your heart faint and you fear for the rumor that should be heard in the land. All right. So there's a lot of rumors that are being heard in these times right now. All right. Rumors of war. All right. Martial law. All right. Economic collapse. So on and so forth. It says a rumor shall both come in 1 year, and after that another year shall come a rumor, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. So we're seeing these things begin to bubble up right now. All right. So these things are, the prophecy is speaking heavily right now. All right. And also as well, okay, I thought this was pretty heavy too, because I had made mention about this before in one of my previous lessons. But it says here, U.S. economy faces 20 billion hit as foreign tourists stay away amid trade war, Trump policies, right? So people don't want to come over to Babylon. All right. Everything that's going on with these tariffs and these trade wars are causing, these foreigners to not, tour America. The tourism is going down, and that tourism plays a big role in this economy. It says the U.S. economy is set to lose billions of dollars this year amid a steady decline in foreign tourism and an escalating boycott of American products. Right? Yeah, because people all over the world are protesting and boycotting American products. All right, which is going to further hurt this economy. Recent policies implemented by the Donald Trump administration and rising geopolitical tensions have also spooked potential visitors. See? It says data published by the International Trade Administration indicates that international travelers spent a record $254 billion in the U.S. last year. The ITA had also projected in early March that the U.S. will welcome 77 million visitors this year. The number, however, fell sharply as the Donald Trump-led administration cracked down sharply against migrants, initiated a global trade war, and sought to expand the American borders. By the end of March, the number of non-citizens flying into the U.S. had dropped by nearly 10% when compared against the previous year. All right. So everything about this economy is tanking. Right. It says why are foreign tourists avoiding the USA? Recent reports have painted a rather unfavorable picture of America, with travelers being detained for weeks, abrupt visa cancellations, and more. Several European countries have also updated their travel advisories for the U.S. excuse me, for the U.S. in the recent weeks, amid growing concern about its immigration policies after citizens face extensive problems. Tourists from Germany and the UK were among dozens of people who have been denied entry into the U.S. in recent weeks. Some of these individuals were also detained for several weeks at U.S. ports of entry despite holding what they believe were the correct travel documents. Right? Because, hey, like I said before, all right, this guy Trump is locking America down. So people are scared to come over. All right, people are being illegally detained. They're seeing these migrants getting kicked out, being shipped to these different prisons in other countries, right? So it's just a lot of chaos that's going on here, all right? But the point, again, in the midst of all the rumors and things that are going on, I believe that, this is the time, as we see here, that eventually, they're going to strike Iran, and this thing is going to escalate, right? So I just wanted to, bring this out. Quick lesson, quick news update. All right, we're in those times. All right, the third woe coming quickly. Our salvation is nearer than we believe. All right, hey, the Lord is moving things. Shalom to the next one. Shalom.